Most people believe that building wealth is about luck or high income. And that's not true at all because it's all about simple habits. In this video, we will talk about these habits and we will have a normal one-to-one conversation where I will do my very best to bring you as much value as I possibly can. And the first habit is very simple, it's to pay yourself first. In order for you to become a capitalist, you need to have capital. And I will give you a very simple story. So when I was starting out in my first job, I remember my colleagues going on lunch to get some food, and they would all buy maybe pizza for like 20 bucks. And at the time, I could not comprehend how one could spend 20 bucks on a pizza because that was about an hour of my work. So I just want to let you know the mindset I had at the time where I wanted to save as much as I could. I was saving more than 50% of my salary and investing absolutely everything I could in the commodity sector at the time, which is the sector I'm still involved in. So I just want you to understand the mentality you could be in during this wealth building process. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be in that kind of mindset, but you can set a certain amount of money aside and then invest a certain percentage of your overall income every single month. That could be passively, that could be ETF, whatever it could be. But paying yourself first is a first, but it's a very huge step towards financial freedom. The second one is to actually track your expenses. So I'll give you a very simple example. So if you smoke or if you vape or whatever, and let's say you spend $25 a week on it, some people spend way more than that. Well, and let's assume inflation rate is about 5% a year on those vapes. So if instead of vaping or smoking or drinking, you would have invested that money passively, S&P 500, let's say 7% returns. After 30 years, that's $220,000. So just an example of how one small expense or one small bad habit can significantly decrease the amount of money you could have had after investing consistently for 30 years. And my idea would be just to record absolutely all the expenses you have and have a certain budget for every single type of expense. So let's say you can spend a certain amount on food, a certain amount of going out, a certain amount of other leisures. But make sure you have budgets, make sure it's all recorded, because then you will never have in a situation where, oh, I'm so frugal, I can't buy anything. No, you have a budget of how much you can spend a week, a month, and that's it. The the only downside is that you cannot spend more than that. But in time, you get used to it, it gets easy, and you get so much value and satisfaction from investing and seeing your wealth grow every single week. The next one is to think about return on investment and not price. So let's say you are starting a business. And to start a business, it usually requires twice as much as time as you think it would and twice as much as money. And there will be a lot of small expenses, which could stop a lot of people from getting involved because, oh my God, it's so risky, it's so expensive, whatever. But if you begin to think about ROI, if you're buying a seminar, if you're buying a book, if you're starting a business, then you will never feel bad for spending money on things that are going to make you better, that will increase the probabilities of you being successful, and that will give you these lessons, the school of hard knocks. You cannot learn until you actually fail. Of course, we can learn from the theory, but at least in my experience of other people I talk to, the best lessons come from the mistakes you make. And you only make mistakes when you do things, and you only do things when you actually, you spend money, you try different things, you fail. So I really invite you to never think about money from the perspective of price, but ROI, which is why the next time you want to buy a luxury car, the ROI is completely negative. It doesn't give you anything except, you thinking that you're cool, but from financial perspective, it doesn't help much. But if you're buying $1,000 suit, for example, that you will use for the conference to meet a famous investor, and you want to have a good impression on him because he can open up an opportunity for you, well, maybe, just maybe, the ROI is good in that circumstance. And once you start thinking about that, you will never feel bad from spending money ever again, and you will automatically never really buy silly things because you will see that there is nothing in there for you. The next one is to have a habit of converting currency into assets. So we live in this fiat system where the currency is not backed up by anything. The governments have complete control of how much money supply will exist. And therefore, your dollars that you're working so hard for, or whatever currency you use, does not have intrinsic value. So I invite you to convert your currency into things that cannot be printed. So that could be, businesses, that could be education, that could be investable things. For example, I love buying silver and gold. That's my savings. I literally save in silver and gold. I use my cash as a medium of exchange to buy various things, to invest, to get the things that I need. But if I want to save for the future, in case something happens, in case I lose my businesses, in case there's an emergency, I save in these tangible things, because the more currency exists, the amount of gold and silver is the same. Of course, it increases by like 1 or 2% a year, but overall, the value stays the same, while the price increases because there's now more units, your currency of exchange. And that's why I would highly recommend to get into mindset of saving in tangible things that cannot be printed. Another bad habit that people have is this lifestyle inflation. So let's say you've done everything we talked about, you're doing really well, you're making some money, but then you want to treat yourself. While that's absolutely fine, you need to send a percentage of your lifestyle inflation that you can allow yourself to occur. So, for example, let's say after you've done really well, you grew your business by 10%, maybe you're allowed to increase your lifestyle by a few percentage. But it's not the biggest mistake people make is making, let's say, doubling their income, and they double their expenses, their lifestyle. And even though their life improved by a few percent, their wealth is not improving by any percentages, right? So I understand that we want to treat ourselves, we want to, enjoy our hard work, but it's much wiser to get wealthy first, build wealth, and then live off the dividends, or by buying treasury bonds if you have a few millions, just living off that, instead of increasing your lifestyle and then never actually increasing your wealth. The next great habit is to build different income streams. So you can build wealth even by just working at a normal job, climbing the ladder if that's something that you're interested in, and then you will have that income stream. Then you could invest for many years. That will be another income stream. Then you could maybe open your own business, another income stream, real estate, land, whatever. But it doesn't really matter where your money is coming from right now. It's about where do you want the money to come into your life in the next 5, 10, 15 years, and to start to working on that right now. In my circumstances, my background was in molecular biology, and that's something that I absolutely hated. So while that was fine for the cash flow at the time, I spent every breathing minute working really hard, investing, so that I have other income streams so that they can in future replace my work. And I highly invite you to start thinking in that way, because then it doesn't really matter in what situation you are in now. It's all about, are you working right now to open up different income streams through real estate, land? It could be dividend companies, it could be just normal companies that you want to, buy the company, you believe it's going to do really well, and then you're going to sell the company, pay the taxes, the capital gain tax, and then invest it into something else to build another stream of income. But this concept of having multiple income streams is what separates an average person who have one and the wealthy person who have many. The next one is very interesting because it's about liking yourself. So most people believe that, oh, you need to treat yourself because you like yourself. And that's actually not true, because if you really like yourself, if you really respect yourself, if you believe that your family, your friends, whoever you love deserve a better life, then you will work really hard right now. You will likely not treat yourself for a little while until you open a real business, until you build a real investable portfolio, or whichever way, until you climb the career ladder. People are different. You can build wealth in whatever way you want. In my example, I could not stand the corporate life. I would rather die at the time than climb the ladder, try to impress the boss. Literally, I just couldn't do it. So my only path was through business, investing, getting involved in this investing world. For some people, it could be different, but it's this concept that if you actually like yourself, if you actually believe that you deserve much better, you will not be susceptible to these like little treats that slowly eat away your income and don't leave you with enough to invest. So you're not going to maybe go out every Friday with the boys or gals or whatever it may be, but you will work really hard to build the life you want because you believe that you deserve it, your friends, your family deserve it. And if you focus on that, I believe it can have also a very significant effect on your life, because that's what liking yourself means, at least in my humble opinion. And a bonus habit that I always talk about is living from the perspective that it already happened. Because if you really think about it, so how you feel affects your thoughts, and your thoughts affect your actions. An example I always give: if you have a fight with your significant other, and let's say you were just about to go out to have food, and if you, and I mean verbal fight, of course. So if you had conflict, that puts you in a bad mood. So you feel differently. But because you feel differently, your actions will change. Now you no longer want to go out and get food. And that affects your reality, right? So I want to see how your feelings affect your thoughts, and your thoughts affect your actions, which affects your reality. So if you live from the perspective of already being wealthy, of already being successful, be if you live from a perspective where you deserve to have whatever it is that you want to have, then your actions and your thoughts will be congruent to that reality, and you will automatically open a business. You will be more excited. You will think more positively. You will invest more. You will wake up in the morning, right, today it's going to be a great day. I'll be one step closer to whatever I want to achieve. And like, I do understand that the world doesn't work like that. We all have bad days, we all have good days, but forcing yourself and getting better every day at living as if it already happened has a significant effect, first of all, on your quality of life, but it actually does affect your thoughts. And I've seen that in my life, because a lot of things that I do are now automatic, because I live from, at least I attempt to live from the picture where my life is exactly like, perfect. Everything's going really well. And it does have a very significant, it has the potential to have a very significant effect on your overall life and, of course, your finances. That's everything I have, guys. I have a flagship course, Wealth Building Blueprint. I believe it's the best course in the market relative to its price. I have spent a whole year creating that course. It covers investing, trading, speculating, business, the fundamentals of wealth building. Absolutely everything I know is included in that course. And you also get access to private community as well, where you can ask me absolutely any questions you would like. So if you're interested, guys, please have a look. I give completely a 3-day money back guarantee, no questions asked. I don't care why you want your money back. If there's maybe you don't like how I talk, how I look, I do not care. If you want your money back, I will give it to you within 3 days. But yes, I do highly recommend it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.